Welcome to the pod, Sam. How are you doing today?
Thanks, Sarah. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to chat with you.
Yeah, me
I have
too.
a feeling this won't be our last chat here, so I'm excited for people in the wild to get to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and maybe I know you're moving into AI land, so tell us a little about that
Yes.
too. But what geographic regions you serve as a training specialist also?
Yeah. So I live and work here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And so I serve kind of the Midwest region. So in my role as a trainer consultant, I'm working with a lot of folks on the ground here in Michigan, also in Northern Indiana, Illinois, and then also in Oklahoma. So those are kind of my primary regions that I am working with folks on the ground in. And yeah, like you said, I just joined the AAI team, the Adult Attachment Interview team at the Institute. So I'm doing several of those per week. And then I'm doing training and consulting for kind of the other portion of my job. So it's just, I'm very lucky. I feel really
Yeah,
privileged to do the work that I'm doing.
yeah. I kind of have I don't think it's an official hybrid job. I don't know if
Yeah.
we have those officially.
Yeah. Yeah.
So any powers that be, plug your ears. But I kind of do the same thing where I get to do a couple of different things between the podcast and training consulting. And I don't know, I really
Yes.
enjoy, my brain is enjoying getting to kind of shift
I
between
do
the two.
too. Yeah, it just
Yeah.
flexes different parts of your
Hmm.
your brain and getting different touch points with our folks on the ground who are coming to training or who are out there
Yeah.
doing the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fresh perspective for the rest of it, I feel like. So
Yeah.
now I know you're a new mama, and we've had a chance
Hmm.
to meet the most beautiful baby ever, and that,
Yes,
oh
thank
my
you.
gosh, I'm not sure I've ever a smiley or sweet one. But you've been parenting for a long time,
Yeah, I have.
correct?
Yep.
Um, through the foster care system?
Yes.
Okay, so let's jump right into some of our TBRI questions, but I wanted to lay the
Okay.
groundwork for you've had a
Sure.
lot of years of parenting experience, and really
Yeah.
parenting the kids that we sometimes primarily focus on.
Hmm.
So are you a natural at TBRI? Did it come to you naturally, or is this something you have to focus on and practice?
Oh, that's a great question. I think aspects of it came naturally and a lot of aspects did not. I think it is truly like an everyday practice.
Hmm.
Um, I think, before I came to TBRI training, I kind of had this notion that like you either can connect with kids or you can't.
Hmm.
Some
Hmm.
people have this magic thing and other people just like don't have it.
Right.
And so when I went to practitioner training, I was really blown away and it totally um, shifted my perspective,
Mm.
especially in learning the principles and strategies of TBRI. I came away thinking, wow, like these are really micro level skills that can be taught and practiced. Um, and so yeah, that's really shifted my perspective because
Hmm.
while some of the, I would say like the engagement strategies came really naturally for me, and through my training as a clinical social worker, I'd flexed those muscles a lot. But
Right.
in terms of the correcting principles, even the
Hmm.
empowering principles, I mean, that was brand new stuff to me.
Mm.
And so parts of TBRI maybe came naturally, but most
Hmm.
of it is coming, every day with practice.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
love that you said that like connecting was for some people and they were really good at it. For me, it would have been like, well, that kid won't connect with me because I was
Ah,
so
sure.
unwilling to like look at myself in those early years.
Yeah,
It would have been all about those kids and like, well, that kid won't connect or that kid isn't interested or that, right? Like, and
totally.
one of the
Totally.
things that like thinking about the AI and
Hmm.
then of course my personal journey following that has like really been like, oh, turns out, Sarah, it might be that the connection falls back to
Mm,
you,
hmm.
uh, as opposed
Hmm.
to, so I haven't, nobody's said anything about that, the connection piece. So I love that
Yeah.
answer. What is your favorite TBRI principle and why?
Yeah. So if you couldn't tell, I'm very much an attachment nerd. It's kind of the one thing, the common thread throughout my career so far, and my parenting that I keep coming back to. It's the thing I can't quite get enough of. I'm fascinated by it. I'm in awe of it. And so the connecting principles are my favorite. And I
Yeah,
think, as we all know, right, they're central to the other principles. Like, we
right.
can't empower our kids or correct them if we're not connected.
Yeah,
And so that's really where I fall in terms of, yeah, my favorite
yeah,
principle and the
yeah.
strategies that come along with that.
That makes sense. It totally makes
Yeah.
sense. I think empowering is definitely mine because it was the easiest for me to start with.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know
you want
what?
food?
That's so
I can do that.
true. Yeah. You're right. Like, in terms of, today go home and do this.
hmm
Yeah. Like, a
hmm
water bottle, right?
Yeah, yeah,
A fidget, some of those really basic things. I
yeah,
would say those were things I gravitated to really
yeah.
quickly
It
to
was,
start my journey.
well, I didn't require any vulnerability, that was for sure.
Yeah,
So
right,
it's really
right.
easy to, oh, did you say I could give them a snack every 2 hours and that counts?
On it.
I
Yeah,
am in right here. Let me have this one.
totally.
So is connecting also the easiest strategy or Larry, so we talked about principle, connecting overall. Let's dig
Yeah.
down into some of the strategies of
Uh-huh.
mindfulness, engagement, proactive,
Yeah.
responsive, down into the strategies. Easiest strategy for you, and then we'll talk about
Mm,
what's the hardest. I guess
easiest
I didn't say
strategy.
physiological and ecological.
Sure. Okay, let me think. Easiest strategy. Um, I would say healthy touch. Um, and eye contact are probably the easiest for me.
Wow.
But what's interesting is that a lot of times those are the hardest, or those have been the hardest for the kids that I've cared
hmm
for.
hmm
So it's taken a lot of patience and like reflection on my part,
hmm
because the kids I've cared for haven't been able to receive that right away, or can receive it in
Oh.
certain doses. So in some way, it's like the easiest for me. I feel more naturally gifted in those ways, but without examination, that can come across, really forcefully or in a threatening manner.
hmm
If the kids who I'm caring for or working with don't have the trusting foundation with me yet to be able to receive that. So it's the easiest on one hand, but the hardest on the other. Does that make
So,
sense?
absolutely. So in my mind, and I'm straying, but that can come with, for you as the caregiver, a, a big sense of rejection, right? So
Right.
you're like
Totally.
maybe offering a hug or even just eye
Yeah.
contact too. Is like, I mean, that's an intimate offering.
Yes.
And so how do you manage that? Like, do you have
Mm-hmm.
anything you tell yourself in those moments when they're like, I don't want to hug or
Uh, that's a great question. Um, I think I learned the hard way. um, Within our first foster care placement, I, like so many, right? Like, came into this, like, I have so much love to give, right? I have
uh-huh,
capacity to come
right.
and meet these needs. And when our kids weren't ready for that in the way that I wanted to give that connection, it
hmm
did feel like rejection. So I think, thankfully, on a cognitive level, I had already been to TBRI training. I already knew, like,
hmm
cognitively, that, okay, they can't trust me yet, right?
Right, right.
But my body experienced that in a different
Uh-huh,
way.
right.
And so I'm not sure that I necessarily had like a mantra I would tell myself, but you better believe I got myself into therapy.
Mhm,
It was a constant conversation between my husband and me, because of all the kids that we've cared for through foster care have had um, different ways in which they could receive love and care and connection from me and my husband, and that's looked different with each child.
Goodness.
And so it is really, truly just an ongoing dialogue and making sure that I have some external accountability to check me, right? Like what's about me? What's about my history? How can I continue to lean in relationally, but in a way that's respectful, developmentally respectful of where they're at in this moment.
Man, this is so hard. Just
It
thinking about
is
that. It's so
hard.
hard.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's so hard.
It's really hard.
What's the hardest strategy for you?
Correction.
Yeah.
Just all of it.
All of it?
So I definitely, we talk about structure and nurture. I lean like high nurture, low structure. And so, it is truly an everyday practice for me to increase my structure.
I feel like on that quadrant, we would end up in opposite corners.
Yeah. Yes, we would. We would. Yeah.
I'd be like, let me bring you some structure.
Exactly. I know.
And you'd be like, and I'll bring you some nurture.
Yeah. Because I can really naturally just lean permissively. And again, learning the hard way, right? Like that sets kids up to not feel safe in a different way. Right. And so, because if they don't have a safe boss, then who's in control? They are, right? And our kids, we know our kids need a safe boss. And so that has been the greatest area of focus for me in terms of where I need the work.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Are you willing to share a time with us that you've needed a redo as the adult?
Oh, yeah. Truly, I think most of us on the team would probably say this, that we are the ones who need the most redos in our families.
For sure.
Same goes with me. So I do have a specific memory. The first little guy that we had placement of, so he was actually 7 at the time of this memory. And I don't exactly remember what I did. I remember I yelled at him. We were in my kitchen and I said something. I don't even know exactly what it was, but I yelled at him. And right away, this part is what I remember. He goes, "Whoa, Mom, you need a redo." Thankfully, I had enough regulation at the time to be like, "Whoa, you're right, buddy." And so he walked me through a redo right in that moment. And then he reaches up his hand to give me a high five, and he goes, "Now that's my main girl."
Oh, stop.
So I just it was the sweetest moment. So that's what I remember about it. I don't remember exactly what I did, but I yelled something at him.
Yeah.
But that has always stuck with me because he was so forgiving and so gracious with me. And he returned to playful engagement, all the things we're trying to do, right? If we have to go to calming engagement, then we move back down to structured, and we always want to end with play. And that's what he did. And I genuinely did feel more connected to him after that.
I love that.
And so I'll never forget it. It was a precious moment.
He said, "That's my main girl."
Yes,
right? So that's what he said.
Yeah, that's what he said. Gave me a high five. It was incredible.
Come on. Okay, that's amazing. Oh, I love that.
I've noticed for me too, usually if I'm yelling, because I'm not really a yeller in general, but when I'm afraid, I'll yell. And so I have, there was one other instance when one of our foster daughters kicked her sister pretty hard. And so I immediately yelled, "Stop," but it was scary. She ran and hid under the couch. It was not a pretty moment. And so I needed a redo in that moment. And so I, went and laid under the couch or squatted down under the couch and just said, "Baby, I'm so sorry. That was not okay. Can Mom try that again?" Actually, Mom, she called me Sammy. "Can Sammy try that again?"
Yeah. And
so we did hands and eyes, and I apologized to her and said, "This is what I should have done instead." And then she walked me through it and just gave me a really, really big hug after that. And so I just say that to say, sometimes we might think anger is behind our actions. But a lot of times for us caregivers, it's fear, especially if our kids have really big behaviors and safety concerns, and you're kind of living in that constant state of fragility.
Right.
um, that quickly induced fear or survival
Right.
response in ourselves can come out in a
Mhm.
kind of an ugly way, right?
And I think, and even beyond physical safety, I think as a parent, there's so much pressure in some of our communities to be such
Mm.
performative parents.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, a
Yeah.
fear that somebody might see my kid behaving this way
Yeah,
and judge me, or right? Like,
totally.
it's just so much. And then all of that unravels behind,
Yeah,
in the safety of the home.
that's so
And
true.
so, yeah, I think you're exactly right that fear is a huge,
Hmm.
a huge, huge thing that's happening behind the scenes for us. And we
Yeah.
all know what fear does, right? The fear does the
Yep.
same thing to the adults as it does to the
Exactly.
child. So,
Exactly.
um, if you could tell your younger version, or the younger version of yourself, that was maybe just learning TBRI and potentially struggling, which for me, like, I'm
Mm.
years and years in and still sort of maybe that younger version
Yeah.
riding that struggle bus sometime. What would you tell her?
Mm. That you'll never arrive,
Hmm. Hmm.
and to get like cozy with that idea.
Hmm. Yeah, snuggle up.
uh Snuggle up, because parenting, um peopling, right? Like, it's
Right.
inherently complex, and we're always experiencing new things that shift the way that we're thinking and feeling, perceiving things, responding to things. And so, I might really get good at one aspect of TBRI or one skill, but then maybe a trauma happens in my family, or a loss, or a global pandemic. Right? Like,
Right.
we're never going to arrive, and that's okay. We're
Hmm.
constantly in process. Um, we always talk about it's a journey, and it's one that I don't
Hmm.
think like ends, because we're
Right.
humans.
Right.
And so, rather than being really afraid of that, I think I am kind of achievement oriented. And so that idea of not being able to like arrive or perfect something is scary.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
would tell my younger self, you won't and you can't. And like, that's okay.
Right.
And there's a lot of beauty in that.
Uh-huh.
Um, and yeah,
It's
yeah,
like one little stumbling growth opportunity after the next, right?
for sure.
And
For
like,
sure.
as the kids age and grow, and as we age and grow, right? Like,
Yeah.
we become new and different people all along. So, like,
Yeah.
everything looks different in our relationships.
It's
So,
so true. And just as you
um,
think you have something like figured out parenting,
mhm, mhm,
then it changes and
mhm.
you have to adapt. And
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
that's just human
Just
development.
ask a junior high parent.
Yeah,
Kid
exactly.
kid starts hitting puberty. It's like, woo,
Yes,
everything just changed, right? Like, in a
absolutely.
heartbeat. So,
Absolutely.
okay, we have some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, we're gonna go straight down the list.
Okay.
Favorite food?
Ice cream. Does that count?
Yes, first. What's your favorite flavor?
Coffee,
Okay,
I think.
listen,
Yeah.
overachiever.
Oh, hey,
Well,
thanks.
that's leading right into the next question. How do you take your coffee when it's not ice cream?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Uh,
Um, just with a bit of cream,
okay.
or like I like a nice iced mocha if I'm being fancy.
Okay, fancy. All right.
Mhm.
Walk-up song or theme song?
Oh, wow.
You can pass on anything you
Okay,
want to
let me
pass.
think. Let me think. Um, Before I Let Go by Beyonce.
Okay. Dang, girl.
Yeah.
See, if I had to think like that, we'd be here till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Favorite vacation spot?
Oh. Um, hmm. That's a great one. Favorite? My husband and I traveled to Oahu, and that was pretty fantastic.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd go
Oahu.
back.
You would.
I
Yeah.
would.
I
Yeah.
think most people say that about Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we like Hawaii.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been there, but most people say they love it.
Yeah.
A favorite animal?
Mm, I can't say I have like a favorite animal as an adult. As a child, I would have said a dolphin. So we'll go
Okay.
with that. It's going
Okay.
to be real basic.
Well, we were all going to be marine biologists at some point, I feel like.
Absolutely.
So it
Absolutely, I
fits.
was.
It fits.
Yeah.
Okay, again, you can pass, but I'm going to ask it. Favorite sports team?
Well, now it's the TCU Horned Frogs.
Okay. All right. Go Frogs.
Yeah, not a
Favorite?
football person, but I got very into it last season.
Yeah, they really roped us in.
They
So I'm looking
did.
forward to this season. I was screaming on the couch last Sunday
Oh, yeah.
or Saturday. Last
Especially when they
Saturday.
played U of M, that really tested my allegiance because I'm from Michigan.
Hmm.
I'm going to tell you, I actually cheered for TCU.
Okay, I'm proud of you.
Yeah,
We'll
thank
keep that
you.
going.
Thank
I'll
you.
get you a purple shirt.
Perfect.
Favorite hobby?
Um, I love to run.
Oh,
I
I mean,
love to
yes.
read.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't been able to run postpartum yet. I was,
Are
yeah,
you a long
running,
distance runner?
reading. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you go out and run like, what's a short run for you?
Probably like 3 miles.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
long, long run for me.
Yeah. But it's been a minute since I've done that. So
Okay.
running, reading, would like to try to get into biking soon. And I
Now
like to
you're speaking.
watercolor as well. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm not good at it, but I enjoy the process.
yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Sam, thanks for being here today. What a
Yeah,
fun
of course.
conversation. I know that our listeners are going to really enjoy it, and I can't wait to have you back on another time.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.